Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review A Dog's Purpose. Now, I remember first seeing this trailer, and automatically people start crying because let's watch a dog die a whole bunch of times. Was it worth it? Eh. This film came out in January, so it took me a couple of months to actually go out and see this film, but surprisingly when I went in, this theater was pretty full. I'm like, what the hell? But there's a lot of families. This is definitely a family film, and just like the trailer showed me, this really feels like a Hallmark movie. And from the director Lasse Hallström, this film, there's nothing that is like glaringly horrible, I'm gonna say. It has some weaknesses, but nothing really stands out, and this really feels like a middle of the road film. Balancing how they tell the story, I think Hallstrom does a fine job of keeping the pace up. I didn't really feel bored, which was a good thing. And balancing all the like reincarnating and trying to hold these threads together of themes that are going through. It felt really heavy handed, to be perfectly honest, and really didn't. I don't know, it really didn't make this seem like, wow, I really learned something from this. It felt like checkbox, checkbox, checkbox. Oh, like there's all the things that this dog learned its purpose. And honestly, I'm guess I'm a more mature audience member is not the real target of this movie. And I feel like this movie could teach some kids some lessons, but there are some strange tonal issues with this film at certain points too that really stuck out to me. And like right off the bat, I'm not gonna spoil any like major plot points or anything, but like right off the bat, it's just like what that that happened, and it's just like what the hell. And I see where they're going with this, and it's an interesting idea. I'll have to give them that it's an interesting idea of this dog being reincarnated, learning different things from different lives. But I feel like it would have benefited actually from just being a standard. This dog is there helping this family, this one particular family, and this boy Ethan, and I think that would have been fine. And does the film hit some emotional parts? Yeah, but to be perfectly honest, if you didn't at least get a little emotional watching a dog die multiple times throughout a movie, I don't know. It's kind of manipulative, and it's really not like it goes for cheap emotional hits. And I don't know how earned they felt because there was one particular moment that got me, and to be perfectly honest, if you didn't feel bad during that part, I'd question something. But overall, like the visuals, it looks like a Hallmark movie. It's really sheeny and really bright. And there is one thing actually from the cinematographer Terry Starry that I actually really enjoyed was when you see through the eyes of the dog, Bailey, you see around the frame it blur out a little bit. And for what I'm told, that's supposed to be matching how we believe a lot of how dogs actually see is a little blurred vision of everything. And I thought that was cool. I'm like, okay, they did something a little different with that, and I can appreciate that. There's one actual scene where there's some CGI in it, and I'm like, what the hell? It just completely took me out of the movie. And overall, the visuals are fine. It's a lot of point and shoot photography. That one part with like the one thing with seeing how the dogs see is pretty cool, but overall it's pretty just point and shoot. The story, there's like 6 writers on this film, and that's never a good sign, to be perfectly honest. But certain all the stories hit something, and I give it credit for that. One, and you really do feel this connection with this family, and they do go for a lot of really highly obvious emotional hits, like very stereotypical things that you find in human dramas and stuff like that. There is one point where this movie jumps the shark, and I'm like, what? Really? And it turns into something really cliched and kind of goes from there. Overall, the story isn't really fantastic. It is interesting enough to go along with it. In terms of acting, nobody's a real standout. Everyone's there, they do their job. fine. Josh Gad, honestly, a big thing I'm going to talk about now is you hearing the dog go through all this stuff. And honestly, he has some funny lines and delivers them pretty well, but it feels really artificial and doesn't feel like truly all the time that this is what the dog's really thinking at that moment. It feels really artificial and not how some there's just certain things like, oh, I finally met a boy. It's like, how do you know what a boy is? Your dog. Nobody told you what a boy is. Kind of stuff like that. And honestly, I would have been interested to see how this film would have went if you just saw the dog and you read how it reacted to things and didn't just have the dog narrating the whole time. Which I guess that's the point of the movie, but I don't know if it really paid off and really worked that way. In terms of music, it's melodramatic music. It hits you when it's supposed to hit you. It tells you exactly how you're supposed to feel. But I'll give it credit that it did use popular music well to transition between time periods. It never once just like, hey, it's 1980. No, it gave you music that made you feel like, okay, I'm keeping a sense of timing, which is a good thing, and they kept that going well. And in terms of depth, like I said, it just feels like a checklist. It's like, I learned this, I learned this, I learned this. You put it all together, that's my purpose, kind of thing. And it doesn't go super true drama and heavy into anything. It kind of just like glosses around with some stuff and hits certain things, and okay, and it all wraps up nicely. And there is one thing at the end where I felt like this movie went a little too far, where it's just like, okay, that would have been nice, but nope, we're gonna get weird. We're gonna keep going that far. Overall, the more I think about it, it is a very average movie, and honestly, slightly below average movie. It could have been done better. There's certain things that you could have done differently to make it more impactful, but overall, this isn't a harmful film. It's kind of just like, if you want to have a good cry, or just like have something that's a nice kind of uplifting thing, and you don't want to get super serious, go see A Dog's Purpose. Unless you can't handle watching things happen to animals, because then you're probably going to get wrecked through this whole entire movie. But overall, I'm going to give A Dog's Purpose a C minus. I wouldn't say this is something necessarily have to go out and see, but if it piqued your interest in the trailer, just go and see it. It's still out in theaters.